Wow. It is so good to be here. So good. Right before we came out, I had a moment. You know what I mean by a moment? Got verklempt. I have so many memories here. And, you know, it's funny about life. When you have something right in your midst, you can appreciate it. Maybe a person, a relationship, a job, a place. But when you leave for a time, you have to leave that thing for a time and then come back. It's possible to have an even richer sense of appreciation. And that's what I've been feeling this weekend. It's just this depth of gratitude for this community, for these two spiritual leaders. Because without this community, I would not be who I am today. Wouldn't be the minister that I am. I wouldn't be the person I am. And you know it. I know that some of you know it better than I, and some of you think you know it, but I'm telling you, when you get out there in the world and you go to all the other Unity churches and then you come back, this place is magic. It is just magic. Yeah. So it's good to be here. I am so glad to be here today. This is a generous, spirited congregation, for sure. And yesterday at the women's retreat, one of the things we talked about is how there's so many people in our lives, some of us included, who are really good givers, but we're not always able to receive. You know, sometimes, and maybe you know somebody just like this who gives and gives and gives. Maybe you are this person. But when someone tries to give back to you, it's hard to take it in. Yeah, you understand that, don't you? And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to, because receiving is a vital quality if you're going to achieve and experience the life of your dreams. Here we are, it's the beginning of a brand new year. Some of you have very clear intentions, new steps you want to take. You're in the middle of a transition from one thing to another. And what's important is to be able to receive the opportunities that are going to come your way. So I want to tell you about somebody from within this community who's just one of the best receivers I know. Many of you know Cindy Klein, right? Well, I got to work with Cindy for 11 years, and many of those, she was my direct boss, and we walked hand in hand together through many, many exciting and glorious times here. And I want to tell you that if you ever give a gift to Cindy, that woman receives it like a meteor shower. She just lights up, you know? And you could give her anything. You could give that woman a box of Kleenex. You could hand that box of Kleenex to her, and she would receive it and say, oh, this is the most beautiful box of Kleenex I've ever seen. Look at the color. It's perfect for my office. I know right where I'm going to sit it, just where other people can use it and see it and appreciate it. Thank you so much. And then she would proceed to write you a thank you note in that big, glorious script of hers. Have you ever seen her, the way she writes? It's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's like she opens her arms and says, yes, thank you. And you feel so loved and validated in the process. She's a gift. Now contrast Cindy with another friend of mine. I have another friend who used to go underneath the Christmas tree, and she would carefully take out each package and unwrap it to see what was in it. Now this was not just, some of you did that when you were kids, I'm sure. You did it because you were curious. She did it because she was worried that she would not be able to show enough appreciation. So she would rehearse her enthusiasm. She would open it up, see what was in it, carefully retape it, put it back, and then when she received the gift, she would just be so excited and so enthusiastic. Wow, that's a lot of effort to receive, right? Well, today what we're going to talk about is receiving of love. How to let love in. How to let love into your life. And the scripture from the Christian Bible that is most often attached to receiving love is the prodigal son. And you probably know it, but I'm just going to give you the highlights again, just to kind of get us all on the same page. So you've got a son who is all ready to strike out on the world, and he asks his father if he can get his inheritance early. It's like, Dad, just can I have it now? And Dad, in all of his magnanimity and generosity, says, sure, son, take it. And so off he goes, right? Off he goes to seek his fortune and establish a beautiful life for himself. But sometimes things don't go exactly as we plan, do they? And this son ends up in the middle of it. He has squandered the whole inheritance. He is barely able to survive. The only food that he can get is the leftovers from feeding the pigs, just the hulls from the grain. That's how low he has fallen. And then he decides he's going to go back to his father and ask his father for forgiveness, and he does, and Dad forgives him, and all is well. I mean, it is a beautiful, beautiful story, and it's really usually told to help us represent and see and know the unconditional love of God, that we never can be apart from God's love. But the more I thought about this story, it came to me as I was preparing for today, the more I thought about it, I thought, yes, I know the fact of God's love. I know that fact. But when I am in the middle of it, when I am in the middle of having messed up and my life is so low, would I really want, as that son did, to go back to his father and be celebrated? Because what happens in the story is he goes back and they throw a party for him. They throw a party for him, they give him a wonderful cloak, they give him a ring, they give him lots of food. They're celebrating him. He has messed up royally, and yet they're giving a party for him. Now, I don't know about you, but that just wouldn't feel right to me, to go back. I wouldn't know how to receive all that good. But yet, the story is there to teach us that God's love is unconditional for us all the time. So the fact of God's love, I know. How to receive it, I'm not always so sure. We're going to talk about how to receive love today. So the first thing I want to share with you, my first point today, is I want to encourage you to be willing to love beyond the hurt. I mean, you've heard love till it hurts. Well, I want to encourage you to love beyond the hurt, because the truth about real love is that sometimes it does hurt. Howard mentioned to you that after 9 years of serving at my church in Overland Park, Kansas, that I was guided by God to retire from church ministry. Wasn't something I'd anticipated, but the guidance was very clear. And so I gave the congregation 9 months notice, and from the minute I gave the notice, it started. People wanting to come and tell me goodbye. People wanting to come and beg me to stay. People wanting to tell me what I'd meant to them, because I just got to tell you, a minister's role is a very beloved role. And unless you've ever been a minister, you can't really fully comprehend how much people love you, right? I mean, they do. And we teach what we most need to learn. So I'm teaching today what I most need to learn, and I can tell you that it was not always easy for me to take in that love from the congregation, but I made a decision. I made a decision early on that I was going to pause. Whenever someone needed me to pause, I was going to pause and listen and do my best to take in what they had to say. It wasn't easy. And sometimes it hurt. It hurt. Love has that two-edged sword. Sometimes the sweetness of it just can be bittersweet. It can hurt. And I asked a friend of mine, I said, why is that? Why is it that some people have such a difficult time taking in love? And she's a therapist. This is why I asked her. And she said, here's the thing, Patricia. Everybody you know, all of us, we were all loved imperfectly by people who were loved imperfectly, by people who were loved imperfectly. I mean, you may have had the best parents in the world. You may love and adore your parents and not know anything they ever did that was wrong, but I'm still here to tell you that they loved imperfectly, because we're all imperfect in our expression of love. I mean, at the highest level, it's divine perfection, but for the most part, we're human beings loving imperfectly. And so what happens is, we all carry wounds from that imperfect love that has come to us. And when someone else tries to give us love, it connects with the place in us that's wounded for whatever reason, not just parents, any kind of love. Could be a relationship that failed, could be all kinds of things. But there's woundedness within us, and we try to take in new love. It connects with the pain, and we stop. Right there, we just stop. Say, nope, no more, I'm done. And so I asked this therapist, I said, well, great. So what do we do? What do you do? And she said, you keep on loving. You keep on past the pain, taking it in. You be willing to go to the place of pain and then beyond. And just keep on. And little by little, you can take in more. You can take in more. You can take in more. Here's how Mother Teresa put it. Mother Teresa said, she said, I have found the paradox that if you love until it hurts, there can be no more hurt, only love. If you love until it hurts, there can be no more hurt, only love. And that's true, to love. So as we're stepping into receiving more love, my encouragement to you is love beyond the pain or the discomfort. Just stay with it. And that brings us to the second point, which is kind of similar. The second point is to raise your set point. Gay Hendricks wrote a book called The Big Leap. I don't know if any of you have read his book. It's a fabulous book, and he talks about how every one of us has this internal thermostat of how much good we'll accept. And so when too much good comes our way, our thermostat is set at a particular level, and it immediately kicks in and lowers our ability to receive any more good. We sabotage ourselves is what happens. Have you ever been there? Man, life is just happening. It is too good to be true. You are just strolling along. Everything is ginning and humming. And then, something happens. And a lot of times that something that happens is indirectly caused or directly caused by our thoughts. We sabotage ourselves. Let me give you an example from my life. So back when I was around about 22 years old, I'd started dating this man by the name of Brian Bass, and we had gone on a few dates. It was early in the relationship. I was moving very slowly, and it was, early in the relationship, and one day at my office arrives this Texas-sized bouquet of red roses. 24 red roses, baby's breath, green. It was the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life. Now, if I had been Cindy, you know how I would have responded, right? I would have called him and effusively said, oh, thank you, this is wonderful, this is awesome. But no, because I knew 24 red roses could only mean one thing. I mean, it could mean a lot of things, I suppose, but what it said to me was, this person might be getting serious, and I have no intention of getting serious. Nope. Fall in love? No way was I going to fall in love. So I called him, and I said to him, the roses are very pretty, but you've got no business sending me roses. We do not know each other well enough for you to spend that kind of money on me. And I want to be really clear, I'm not planning to get serious in this relationship. Well, you know how well the conversation worked, right? Because it's been 34 years, something like that. Yeah. He did not give me flowers again until our first daughter was born. But I guess the flowers worked. But back to the point of the story, which is the thermostat. So I had this internal thermostat that said I can only accept so much good. And when it comes to relationships, I'm only going to take in so much love. I'm a little leery of it. I've been kind of burned in one relationship. I'm not about to fall in love. That is just too risky. Can you see how we work it? I was trying to sabotage it. And we do that to ourselves. I have a friend who grew up in a family that believed that nothing ever comes to us easy. It's got to be hard. Nothing good ever comes easy. It's got to be hard. So for her, when good would start to come in her life, she would have to manifest something really difficult, sometimes disastrous, to balance it. If there was good, then there must be pain somewhere. She was always looking for it. And that's the thermostat. So the tip here is, when you find yourself resistant to your good, might be love, might be something else. When you find yourself resistant to your good, just say to yourself, This is just my thermostat kicking in. This is just my upper limit kicking in. I can change that. I can change that limit. I can change that thermostat right now. Okay, so we're talking about loving beyond the hurt. We're talking about changing your set level, your thermostat level for the amount of love that you'll let into your life. But really the most important thing for you to get is that love is your true nature. You know, really it is. I mean, you hear every Sunday morning that you are created in the image and likeness of God. You've got the very spiritual DNA of God in you, and God is love. So love is your true nature. And if you can just get it and take in the compliments, take in the love that wants to come your way. And so that takes us back to a time I want to share with you. Again, it has to do with my time in ministry. And as one who sometimes had a difficult time accepting compliments, receiving praise of any sort, I felt like I'd made a lot of progress when I told a friend of mine one day, I said, all the people at church, they say these nice things to me. And I have finally come to accept that for them, they are true. Yeah, you laugh, you get it. I didn't even get the naivete of what I was saying, because what I was saying was, they may not be true, but for them, they're true. And my friend looks at me and she says, but Patricia, what if they are true? And I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to go to graduate school on that one. What if they are true? What if all those amazing things people say about you are true? Yeah. And the amazing things that people say about you, what if they're true? What if you're empowered to say, thank you? And then one day you learn how to say, thank you. And just receive it. So we left our prodigal son kind of wallowing in it. When I say in it, that's just a nice little euphemism. You know what I mean by in it. You've been there. You've felt the disappointment, the shame of what you may have perceived to be failure. Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it was feeling that you'd let down your children. Maybe it was a job that you lost or a promotion you didn't get. I don't know what it might have been, but that's when we see the prodigal son. He was as low as he could be, and we've all been as low as we could be. But when you read the story, there is a particular line that is, for me, the most profound. There's many profound lessons. It's where the writer tells us that the prodigal son came to himself. He came to himself. It was a pivotal moment, literally a pivot moment, where he was looking over here at how he judged himself. He was embarrassed. He was ashamed. He'd squandered all of his inheritance. And then he came to himself and he pivoted and saw something else that was possible, his true self. It was in that moment that he saw his Christ nature and the possibility that maybe his father would receive him again. For us, that means knowing that no matter what we've said or done, what we've not said or not done, that the love of God is never apart from us. It cannot be, because it dwells within us. It's who we are. And so in that moment of recognition, when you have that moment of recognition, when you look inside your heart and you remember that the Christ is there, you remember that God's love is there, in that moment you have come to yourself. And in that moment you open your heart to receive the love of the universe and the love of God for you. A pivotal moment. And pivoting is a tool. Pivoting is a mental tool and a physical tool. So when you notice your thoughts wandering over there, you notice them and you pivot them toward the truth with a capital T, of who you are. When you find yourself stopping the love that wants to come your way, you can pivot toward it. So it's a brand new year. I'm inviting you to lean into the love. And I have one more piece of advice for you today. If anyone ever tries to give you 24 red roses, say, yes, thank you. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Reverend Patricia Bass, you are amazing, amazing. And actually, we have a little something for you. Cindy Klein has 24 roses here. They're yellow, but they're 24 roses. If you want to come up and get them.
Yeah. Favorite, really. Oh, Brian must have
Brian
told
told
you
us,
that.
yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Come on.
The most beautiful roses I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Oh my gosh, how did you find them? I know just where I'm going to put them on my desk.
Oh, yes. And you're going to get a big note from Cindy thanking you for the opportunity to give them to you.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much. Oh, gosh. Okay, I'm going to let you carry on. Carry on.
Oh, thank you for that wonderful lesson, and thank you for allowing us to have fun with you again. Thanks so much. Well,